All right. What up,
Yup.
everybody? We're back. The Star Brothers, 19.
One
No,
nine.
as Mr. B says, and Harry from 20VC says, this is a game of endurance. You just
Yeah.
have to keep doing these. We're working on being consistent, but we're here, and we're going to keep this going no matter what.
And it's summertime. These days are flying by. But as a founder, these days are expensive. Every month that goes by is payroll. Every day that goes by that we're not executing is another day behind us. So let's get to it. We might as well just
Yeah.
start talking about the environment and continue to talk about what's happening from the funding point of view. I'll go back to the first comment I made. It's summertime. Venture capitalists, I feel like, have been on vacation or are somewhat in vacation mode. When us founders, I'm still grinding every single day. I just went on a vacation
Oh, yeah.
and the time difference. But I'm on WeChat, I'm on WhatsApp, I'm on my email, and yes, I do turn it off a tiny bit, but I don't have an out of office email message going
Yeah, what's
on.
an
I wake up
OOO? There was a
early.
whole viral stuff on Twitter like, oh, I'm out of office. No, those are Europeans are out of office and some bigwig VCs.
Yeah, and everybody has
But yeah,
Wi-Fi
you need
these
to take
days.
time off. I like to say vacation is just another place to send emails from. Not depressing at all, but it's also fun. It's therapeutic. Like I love what I do as like a founder. When I had my companies, I remember on like Christmas in Thailand for CES, I was up at 3 in the morning because of the time difference doing customer service to prep for a show in like 2 weeks. But like I loved it. It was our company. It was my baby. Like that's just what you do. Completely different times. 2015, 2014, like not as many startups. Funding was really starting to become cool. So I'll jump in on the funding side to talk about that whole vacation thing because right now, big VCs are crushing it. And so they are raising the most capital in basically our history. Fun
Yeah.
stat that just came out was Andreessen Horowitz raised a $7 billion fund in Q1 of this year, 2024, that accounted for over 80% of all LP capital deployed. General Catalyst just raised a $3 billion fund. So both of them combined over the last 18 months have raised more than emerging managers have in 18 months. They raised in 2 quarters. It makes sense. It's multi-billion dollars. Emerging managers are usually sub 100 million, fund one, two, three, but it's just so lopsided right now. And so, as we were discussing before this, you need to celebrate your wins. You have to feel good about
Yep.
yourself because if you're not an AI PhD like in this hype, like you're X plus AI because you're a rapper, which is fine, you're a great company, but if you're not from a FANG, if you haven't done this for years, PhD research, like it hurts to see these funding rounds of 50, 100, 250 million dollars
Yeah.
from the pre-product, pre-revenue companies that just started a few months ago. Like you need to probably all of us need to just like turn that media off, stop reading the tech news and literally just grind. I have a founder who doesn't know about any of this. He pops up every few months. He's like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going?" Like, right, trying to raise some capital. It's like almost like Groundhog's Day. I'm like, I kind of envy you to some extent. Like you're just in it and you're grinding, doing millions of revenue, but you have to focus and can't get caught up in all of this that is like myopic in our world. And so what I am telling all my founders right now is that they basically have to just get through to the end of the year, end of 2024, early 2025. It's a little
All the
political right
capital.
now.
It's like the same. Oh, yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's very similar. The popular VCs who've been there, done that have some sort of track record, are getting all the funding because the risk tolerance has changed. Money is not as free as it used to be.
Oh yeah.
And so it kind of like reflects on the founders as well, where people are going for the name brand founder or something in that category. And as Trace was mentioning, I'm not one of those guys. I am no genius. I am no PhD. I don't know how to do software engineer. But as an entrepreneur, there's a few types of us. I'm clever and I execute. Or we like to joke around. We're in the business of figuring it the F out. So in this environment, if you aren't one of those name brand founders, let's just use that as the term. The other side of business is people do business with people they like to do business with. So get out there, and I've been working my hardest to become a thought leader in my space because I am not a name brand founder. And so, what can I do to somewhat become known in the space? Is you want to become some sort of thought leader and stay on top of the game, show people that you are participating in the high level of the, whatever niche or whatever business you're building. I'm going straight after caregiving. The statistics are staggering of 54 million Americans. The more I dig into it, the more passionate I'm becoming about it. And one of the side effects of me working to become a thought leader in the space and talking at conferences and trying to make as many friends and connections as possible is that my business is becoming more and more successful.
Yep. And people do business with people they want to do business with, as we always like to say. And you've been in this business for 8 years, almost 10 years, give or take. People know you, they trust you, you have a reputation, you've been to the conferences, and as we like to say, you kind of paid your dues. Where if you just start a company now, we don't know you, you don't have a background in this, like, oh, you're starting a company. A lot of people always question, like, is it better to be naive and jump into an industry so you do kind of dumb things and what experts don't want to do? It's like, I know what I don't invest in because I know what I don't like and kind of what I hate in terms of an industry. And so sometimes that naivete, there are first time founders who will start companies that a second time founder or someone from the industry just won't
Never
touch.
touch.
Right. And so as Max was saying, look, you have a startup, you got some free time on your hands, yes, no. Like, you need to build a brand and a reputation. You can't really rely on the media to cover your story because you're not building anything groundbreaking. You're building a business. You're stacking revenue, you're closing sales, you're hiring people, and it's a cycle. It's a lot. So you do have to, as I said, take a vacation, take some time off, just staycation, go somewhere, go to the beach, touch some grass. But I'm active on Twitter. I'm active on LinkedIn. It's the way I can scale my network. Max does the same. He writes great posts. We do this podcast, and like behind the scenes, we are just also creatures of habit. We love to talk to people. And so that's what founders need to do now. Forget the glitz and the glam. If you are pre-seed seed, you need to grind. Sometimes revenue gets in the way. You have to show views. You have to show interest. You have to get contracts signed, LOIs, and all these are fine. Pilots are okay. But yes, you need to push, especially in the corporate world if you have big enterprise clients. One of my last memes was Mayor Adams taking out the trash because everyone's like, oh, let me go B2C. Like, that was a great idea, direct to consumer. But like,
Yep.
B2B is where the money is. It's not easier, but it's not as hard. You want these big contracts. So don't focus on things that keep you busy, that don't drive results. If you're spinning your wheels, a hamster in a cage, you're losing time, and that's your most precious asset.
Time during the summer flies by.
Yeah.
One of my favorite days is when I was getting screamed at by one of my customers on my honeymoon at 2 a.m. in the morning. It just is what it is. And I didn't actually do anything wrong. So it's kind of
You never
laughable.
do. The customer's always right.
Yeah, it was, somebody who's distributing my products. Actually, I was distributing their products. I was making them,
Yeah.
ironically, a lot of money. But whatever greed, ego, and envy kicked in, it got in the way of us becoming synergistic even deeper and becoming more successful together. But I learned from it. Now I know how to sniff these people out and either have it expected or put the fire out before. I was joking around yesterday. I love putting fires out. It just gives me
It's
something
kind
to
of fun,
do,
the
and especially,
crisis.
as Trace was saying, when it's your company, it's your fire. You're not just on vacation answering somebody else's emails, making somebody else successful. When it's your business and your building, I'm always on this thing. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's my lifeline to the world. I have to make sure I have service here and there. But people understand we are human. You don't have to get back to people as soon as possible. It's actually kind of funny when somebody gets back to you in email so quickly. I'm like, oh, that was
I
actually
do it too soon. I
really
had to
quick.
cut
I do
back
that too.
because it sets expectations. They're like, you didn't
Yeah.
get back to me within a day. And then other people are like, oh, I'll get back to you in a few weeks. And you're like, they're slow to email. No, they just ignore you.
At
That's a
that point.
separate issue. Yeah. Yeah. Especially when
Yeah.
you have clients too. It's not good to set those expectations, and you have to set barriers of like time and when they can reach out to you. Don't start a PR agency.
No, it's so weird that email is still the means of communication. I actually use LinkedIn now almost like Slack. I mean, it's almost like instant messaging. I know us growing up, we had AIM, and that was an incredibly efficient way to communicate with people. And I was thinking like the other day, we should have away messages like we used to have. Remember? You used
I
to
know.
like,
Yeah, you said like,
I'm away
hey,
for a second. I'm breathing.
right. I don't have a cell phone because the year is like
Yeah.
2000, like four. Like, hit me up on my landline. I'll sit by it for you. Like, times have changed now. You're always on. Like, I text, I email, I WhatsApp, I Twitter, I LinkedIn, Slack, Discord, all of it. I don't even know. I just open things. I'm like, oh, I forgot to get it back to that person, or it's too much to handle. So I kind of envy people who don't do it to some extent. Like, they can still
Yeah.
be successful, just like one focus. Where yeah, our ADD definitely has pros and cons to it. And so that's what we tell our founders. Like, I'm direct at this point with our founders. I have the gray whiskers. One of our founders just
Coming in.
made not a pivot, but like a market focus. And I was like, I don't like that. Sorry, I'm not sorry. Like, I'm adamantly against this choice. I don't like this industry. Here are my reasons. I've tried it before. We've had investments that have tried this before. And like, let's jam out. We're smart. And I know you're going to pursue this because every time you meet a founder and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't think it's a good idea. You should stop. They're going to do it. They have an itch they have to scratch. They're in it. I'm not. They see something I don't. But like, we've seen a lot. So that naivete versus experience is a happy medium. And so we're going to jam out in a few days and just like, come on, we got to come up with something else. I know you're going to do this, but like, don't let that
Yeah.
be your entire focus. You need some stuff over here too, because 3 months, great, go give it a try, go try and get some sales customers and feedback, but like, you need something that will shoot off right after that. You can't go back into ideation mode, and you can't just bet on this one market. I don't like it. I don't think it's big, but this is what I'm telling founders. I'm just being more direct with them. Everyone is saying, oh, VCs give you high level, like, oh, you should try this. It happens, especially now. If VCs have a portfolio and you're not the best performing one, everyone always says, oh, where do you spend your time? With the least best performing ones, because the
Yeah.
best ones don't really need you, but you want to be prestigious. You want to be friends with the best ones. And there's some in the middle where like you can help and there's some potential. And the other ones, we call them kind of orphaned startups and orphaned founders. Like, you reach out to us, I'll get back to you. But like, I don't think about you on a day-to-day basis because I can't do anything for you until you help yourself.
Yeah. No, I was just listening to a really successful CEO. I can't think of his name. He does some big logistics company. He has a book of like how to build billion-dollar businesses, and something really radiated to me. Um, you have to build an all-weather, all-terrain business.
Yes.
And I was like, wait a second, that makes so much sense because when I talk to founders, especially in the healthcare space, I go to all these pitch events, I meet all these founders, and they think they're going to be reimbursed by insurance. And if that is your business model, you are going to lose. It's going to take at least 7 to 15 years to even get on the blimp radar of getting covered by
Yeah.
insurance. So you got to be all terrain. My business is B2B, which I tried the original way of doing. That was the big picture. We all agreed. The investors said direct to consumer is not as high as right now as B2B. B2B is the big picture. And we did it. We tried. We were relatively successful. COVID came. So I had to pivot the business to a direct to consumer business. And I ended up learning a lot more about my customers. And unfortunately, I lost most of my B2B customers within the 2 year period. A lot of people went to traditional ways. The person that I was communicating with left. I pulled my product out of retail stores because containers were too expensive. But it has the sectors of distribution, B2B, direct to consumer, and I do international sales. So that's four means of all weather, right? We could do the sand, we could do the
Yep.
heat, we could
Multiple
do the
revenue
concrete,
streams.
we could
Resilience.
exactly. So when these founders, I go, your business plan, you have an excellent product, but you don't have a real business. What you're
Yeah.
building makes
Yep.
so much sense, but yes, insurance, if we could get it covered, but that can't be your main solution of making money. You have to have other things in the woodworks and in the works to make money so you could eventually get there. Trust me, if I could get my products covered by insurance or Medicare, Medicaid, we wouldn't be having this podcast right
Wonderful.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be on vacation somewhere for the rest of the time. So I do know that, and it hurts me because I have to tell these founders that I've been doing this for 10 years. And I don't want to burst their bubbles. but I now come in with the sharpest pointer stick I could get, and I will burst it immediately, just to give them a sense of reality. I've been doing this for
Yep.
10 years. It is so hard. And if they have a secret sauce that they could get insured somehow, some way, you know what? Fight me back on it. And if you have a way to teach me to do it and you have some sort of solution, teach me. Prove
Yes,
me
please.
wrong slash prove yourself right that your business plan has some sort of expedition, expediting of getting paid by one of these insurance companies, because I've learned it ain't easy.
It isn't, and startups don't realize that it takes time to develop all this. So as I was saying before, the direct to consumer, that's easy. You build a distribution, you build a product, you sell it on your website, people order it, it's up for grabs. When you go B2B, you're dealing with conglomerates, with enterprise, with corporate. They have weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly meetings. They have budgets. I know people who work at corporate that excelled in like a good way, where they came in ahead of time and under budget, and the boss was happy but kind of pissed, because it's like,
Yeah.
you have a budget, you have to spend it. If you don't
Yeah.
spend it, then we missed our numbers and projections. Like, yeah, you saved us money. And so you need to think, when you're selling B2B enterprise, that you have to get in their mindset, on their schedule. When I was in the event trade show business, it was cyclical. I had shows and I had to get them into every single month, because they ran a show, their one big cash cow like CES, in January. They took off 3 months
Yeah.
because they worked for 9 months leading up to it. It's like, you had to know when to time it, like when to pitch them in like February, March, like right before the summer. They would start their planning. When they get back from summer, we're all off for summer. No, they work hard. Then you start ramping up like 6 months. But at the show itself is when they also sold like the majority of the conference booths for next year. And so
Yeah.
that is like replacing something in corporate as well. They're probably just going to renew it. It's already on the line. It's already on a budget. You have to get in before they get into the renewal, and then afterwards to be like, great, this needs to be a consideration. It's all about sales cycles, but like, you have to get specific with these dates. And it's something that a lot of people who don't have that experience don't understand. And if you miss a year, you're all set back. There's nothing you can do to get into like a Walmart or a
I
Walgreens or
was
a
just about to
CVS to
bring
get
that
into their
up.
planogram.
You got
Right.
it.
You know all about that, and like the
You have
timing
to
of
know the
it,
dates.
and
Yep.
each individual category. Yeah, exactly. The calendar.
Yeah. It's funny. I've some people, people reach out to me to ask, how did you get into these retail stores? How did you do this? And, we have a consultant that wants to hop on board, and, it's $7,000 a month or something like that. And I go, which store are you talking about? And they just go with Walmart. And I go, I know that's in August, or in July. At least it starts in July. So don't hire this person in December of the year before, because I know that they know that we know
Yeah.
that it doesn't even matter how much in advance you prepare, because the line item review doesn't start until July, in the end of July and in the beginning of August. So I tell all these
Yep.
people to don't hire, and they think I'm crazy when I say that, but I go, I want to be one of these sales reps, because there's literally nothing you can do until you could get the meeting.
Right.
And doesn't even guarantee that you get the meeting. So it is sales cycle. And if I missed that meeting, or wasn't, something happened, or I didn't get the meeting, I have to literally wait till the next year. And you have to have enough cash to survive, to hopefully get to the next year in the lineup. That's also why I say you have to have all terrain business. If you missed it, you didn't get it, you have to have other ways of making money. When people tell me, oh, we're getting into retail, I would, and say you do get into the lineup. You don't get it, you don't get your first purchase order until you're like October, and then
Yep.
you're not in the stores until January. And then there's just so many moving pieces, especially when it comes to inventory, especially when it comes to warehousing. There's so many moving pieces that, the first time, this is where a branded founder who's been there, done that, is more investable, in this type of category. I mean, I was just listening to a founder. She goes, I've never done a P&L. I couldn't even read one. I know nothing about finance. And she's an anomaly. And
Yeah.
super proud of her, super inspirational. Gives me hope. I had no idea what I was doing. But I took a master class of diving into it head first, especially in New York City. and a high frequency. No, you have to know some of these things. This is where the wisdom and experience kicks in, because otherwise you're going to pay $4,000 a month for 4 months of frustration, because you're going to also get mad at this person. And by the time it's time for them to do the pitching, you've already almost lost trust in the situation.
Yeah.
Because it's just a lack of transparency. Because they'll take the commission / they'll take the retainer until the line item actually happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, as a founder, you need a well-rounded team. You have to understand, right? As our dad always says, right? You live with it in your pocket, know where everything is going. Like, you can't be like, oh yeah, I got some random charge. Like, you need to know this. One of my best investments, the founder sends an update every single month down to the penny. I'm a seed investor. They've raised a lot of money, and I talk about this all the time. They know where every penny is, what their CAC is, how it changes month to month. And I say, I get pushed back, but like no one's going to argue with me, that the best founders know their metrics. They measure it, they update it month to month, and not just know it, they have goals. They understand why they hit them, they miss them, or they overachieved. And direct correlation to success. So that's what I want to say to founders, because it is scary that I would get monthly updates from certain investments that we've made, and when they stop making updates, that's when I'm worried, right? It's okay, like, okay, maybe you don't have updates, send out like, hey, it's been a slow month, that's fine. But like, if you reach after like 6-9 months of dark saying, hey, I need some funding, like, it's just not going to happen. I don't understand why. I know as a founder it's hard, and you have done this as well, and it's something that we've discussed. Like, you have to send updates. And it is just something that will kill your momentum, not just because of your investors. Like, great, if you're killing it, if you're crushing it, if your numbers are going up and like actually growing, you'll get a lot of investor interest. But if you're not doing well and you're not sending updates, you're just orphans. You're out there. Like, we can't try and help you. We can't give you feedback. We can't feel empathy for you if you're not trying to keep us updated. It's just a difficult position to be in. Maybe not monthly, at least quarterly or sporadically. Like, don't let every investor in your cap table reach out and be like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Let's catch up. That is a waste of time for everybody involved.
Yeah. No, I'm guilty of this. I've had periods where I go quarters without even saying anything, updating anyone. I came from the perspective, I'm still alive, so that's all that matters the most. I'm still grinding every damn day on this. Because you go through your waves of being a founder. When things are fine, thank you. Of course, you want to update people. When things are great, you do it monthly. It kind of sucks, giving an update that there's no real update. But that's an update.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned.
Yes.
My business has changed where, some months are really nothing really going on. At least substantial. Yes, the website, the Amazons, a few customers, this, that. But, an update is an update, and it's back to people do business with people they trust now to do business with. And it's not specifically even for this startup. And if you're transparent that things are hard and maybe it's not working out, I've learned maybe for your next startup that you have this relationship with already investors who trusted you at one point, and hopefully that if you are transparent with them, which legally you sort of have to be transparent with them. But I came from the perspective as well. Like, you can reach out to me anytime you want as well. I'm trying my hardest over here. I just fired all these people. I'm in a dark place. This isn't fun anymore. I feel like you guys written me off anyway. So, the founder's point of view, I get it. But of course, if there's updates and you're killing it, it's fun to update people. But the other side of it is the 30 days goes by like that. I mean, these quarters go by quick. And of course, I haven't had to ask for capital. I've maintained, let's just say that. So it would be awkward if I said, hey guys, I haven't heard from you in like 6-7 months, but we're running out of money. We have some things in the pipeline. You want to give me some money at a pretty much a down round, or if a sideways parallel round? I don't know. Whatever you guys want.
Right.
You're not in control is the problem.
Right. And so, to that point, if you're keeping your investors updated, they feel engaged, they understand your business, because if you send an update every so often, sporadically, I have to like catch up, go back, and we have to say like, okay, give me some more information. And so if you're looking at Carter right now, Peter Walker puts out all their data. Like right now, we're at the highest down rounds and bridges in history for the last like decade. One, in 2021, a lot of companies got funded. So statistically, we just have a lot of companies out there. So either way, all numbers and funding is inflated. But a bridge or down round means investors want to give you more money. Yes,
Yeah,
as a
it's
founder
impressive.
and early investors, you may probably take some dilution, but hopefully this will keep the lights on longer. And that means they care. That means you're close to achieving a goal, something, right? We say it's a bridge to somewhere. You have a pre-seed, a seed, hopefully Series A. You can do what we're seeing now, but there's a Series A crunch. Wrote about it. We'll discuss it another time. Is there's a seed one, a seed two, a seed plus, a bridge to Series A, a pre-Series A. Like it's tough. You got to do whatever you can. The Series A right now is coveted, and it is hard to come by. As I've tweeted and wrote, I have companies doing 3, 5, 7 million in revenue that cannot get a Series A because they
Insane.
have really good numbers, revenue traction, net retention over 100%. They have a little bit of churn, like they only grew 100% year over year. The market is a little saturated because look, if you're raising a fund, if you're raising capital right now from a fund, you still need to be $1 billion plus outcome. That is the other issue. You can be growing, you can be
Yeah.
doing really well, but if you can't
No,
convince somebody
ironically,
that you're going to be a few hundred
sometimes having
million, at
revenue gets
least
in
a
your way of,
$1 billion,
yeah.
right? You hit your numbers, but if you can't convince somebody that you're going to make them a lot of money, you're going to be $1 billion acquisition. Like you're in the wrong business. This is go
Yeah.
big or go home. Like the odds are against you, and you have to know what game you're in. You can't blame the VCs for taking capital. Go bootstrap, go do it the harder way to some extent. Not that this is easier, but don't blame it on VCs unless they pull something sneaky or shisty, which is really rare. Like you decided to take capital, you decided to grow inorganically. Money cheats time, and that is your decision as a founder to do. No one else's.
Yeah, I mean he's right, but that's where the second time founder is the more experienced one. You know, when I was raising money, it was cool to raise money. I oversubscribed both my rounds. I was the man. You know, I thought it was so cool, and then 7 years later, I'm just a little bit bigger. The business is it's fine, thank you. It's not going to be the $1 billion exit, even though I still believe we're building it out to be something substantial. But I've coped with the fact that I did raise money, and it puts me in a category where I'm part of somebody else's business plan. VCs have their own business plan. Of course, I have my own business
Yep.
plan, but their business plan is betting on me to make them a lot of money on their multiple. And my perspective, we spoke about this in an earlier podcast. If I sell my business for 30, 40 million, I still own 50 some odd percent of it. I'm a happy camper. But the truth is my venture partners, they might even just say, keep building the business. I don't even want it. And
Yep.
so it becomes this little push, shove, shove, push. If I was doing 5, 6, $10 million in sales, it would be awesome. But we have these companies that can't even
Yes.
raise, even with these metrics. It's a bizarre phenomenon. You're doing really kind of well, like really impressive. My next business, especially with my Rolodex that I've created and the smarts and resilience that I have and the connections that I've created, I would start more of a bootstrapped mentality. But it was 2018. It was cool to raise money. I was on Shark Tank, and I was
Always.
like, if I could raise money, tell these guys the whatever. So it's one of these things. But
And you
I'd
need
rather
that.
do what I do than have a corporate job grinding for somebody else. I'd rather grind for myself. I'll grind myself down to the bone. I mean, I have. Than
Yeah.
do something else because I still believe what I'm doing. My customers still compliment me. I'm still finding new, means of making revenue. I'm creating new relationships, and just got to keep riding the momentum. But you got to create the momentum. The momentum dies real quick. It's almost like getting into
Yep.
all these things. You're a PR guy. You got into the front cover of Forbes or New York Times. Okay, that literally lives for 36 hours. Now what? You got to keep
Yes,
this momentum and story alive. And I've been doing this for seven and a
that's what it
half
is.
years.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm still
So
just as
that's
excited.
basically, you have to stay motivated, and that's what we ask founders. Like at the end of the day, we're like, you realize if you raise capital like a bridge round, like you got to survive and do this another year. You raise a Series A, you're in this for at least another 2, 3 years, assuming your cash burn and everything else. But like you revest, so like you have to earn all of your shares again as a way incentive for investors to know that like you're not just going to up and leave. And it's hard, right? You're seeing all the AI news and you're like, oh, that could be me. That's not fair. Like it passed me on. And I have companies that have raised seed, oversubscribed, millions of dollars. They were the top of the world. They were viral on Twitter. They raised their Series A, huge, from top VCs, and like you
Out of
celebrate
business.
one everything. That's a huge successful accomplishment. But like that is the easiest part, technically, raising capital. Then you're like, okay, that's over. Like back to the grind. Like you get that dopamine shot. You get all the kudos from your friends and family who have no idea what you do, not just as a business and product, but like day to day. Who knows what anyone really does, anyways. And so you just have to stay motivated. Like this is your like you can do it moment. Like stay strong. You have to get through it. And look, if you're not, don't try and fake it. Like I hate when the founder is like, "Hey, how's it going? Oh, we're crushing it." Really? You're not. Don't talk to people like that anymore. Like we're beyond that. It's not even like
Yeah,
mental health. Just like be real with people. If it's working, it's working. You got momentum. If it's not, that's fine. We get it. We Some of us have been there. Not all VCs have been operators. So just be real with people. It's okay to be like it's not working out. You're not popular or cool enough that like it's going to spread like, oh, Max's company, oh, he's not doing well. Oh, okay, he is doing well. He
yeah,
was on
nobody
Shark Tank.
cares.
Like it
Yeah,
ebbs and flows. Revenue, traction, customers solve all these issues. And you'd be like, okay, that was behind me. That was a bad point. It's a roller coaster. Deal with it.
yeah. And the special. I'll compliment both of us. Is I got a compliment yesterday, and I went to an event, and the guy goes, "Dude, you were just so authentic." And I go, yeah, that's actually what I want to hear because I was being raw. I mean, I have no real filter
Yeah.
anymore. I've been there, I've done that. I'm telling you, it's not fun. I'll tell you what I'm up to, and it sounds like I'm crushing it, and things are fine. Thank you. I'm trying to get them to be great, good, great. You don't know, from the outside, everything looks relatively, and I'm not painting the picture. It's up to you. I'm telling you just what's happening on the inside. But the guy goes, "You were super authentic." And so Trace, over the years, especially with his tweets and his memes, it's an authenticity where, we're just being so real. Business sucks. But it's the risk
Yeah.
and reward type of thing. I was just with the founder. I got just two quick stories. Is one
Yeah.
founder,
Go for it.
and I acted, it was a naive comment for me, but the second he corrected me, I was like, I get it. He goes, "I just raised $10.1 million Series A." And I go, "Dude, cheers. You must be extremely excited." He goes, "I'm fucking terrified. Sorry. I
I'm
have to now
freaked.
prove myself. I have to spend this money wisely. Now I have to build this. Of course, I'm happy, but now I actually have to do this." Oh. And I was like, all right. I
Yeah.
mean, a little bit
Oh,
of
crap.
everything. Yeah. And then the next story is back to losing the motivation. And I didn't want to, dampen anybody's party or put water on the fire. But, this gentleman kept raising money. He's got so many bridge rounds that he only owns 8% of his business at this point. And I know that he's going to have to raise another round. It's just inherently part of his business plan. But these trying times made him have to raise extra capital with sold equity that he probably wasn't planning on selling. But he only owns 8% of the business. I don't know if I would work that hard because, to make $8 million, you have to sell your business for $100 million, right? I still own 50 some odd percent of my business. So if I sell it for 10, if I sell for 16, if I sell for 20, I still have the motivation because I believe I could eventually exit my business. And for me as the founder, it doesn't have to be the astronomical number to make me happy, but it has to be a relatively large number to make a
We have a
venture
business
capitalist
model
or
too.
angel.
Yeah. So to all the founders out there, it's tough. If you're not
Yeah,
AI, it's even tougher. The big VCs are getting bigger. The big tech companies are getting bigger. We're in that kind of cyclical, weird moment where everything was awesome in 2024, and then everything wasn't awesome. And now everything, the big companies have all the money, all the resources. And we're once again in that startup, back to basics of fighting, which it should have been, because it never should have been somewhat that easy. That's when you know something's wrong.
So stay authentic, get out there, build your Rolodex, and if you aren't that branded founder, do what you got to do. I am that person, and be authentic, be real. The fake it till you make it. I don't mind telling the truth wisely, but just be authentic. People appreciate it so much more, and I feel like people have gotten smarter about reading people than they ever have.
Yeah. So you know where to find us.
Yeah.
Email, tweet, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, text, Facebook. I don't go on Facebook anymore, but any of those. So until next time,
message.
We'll see ya. Start Brothers out. Oh yeah, Instagram too. I'm on there like every few days.
Yeah. Quick DM. There's so many.